Welcome to City Cinematheque, where the art and pleasure of the movies are the subject of serious discussion. I'm your host, Jerry Carlson, and I teach film studies at the City College of the City University of New York. Today, it's our pleasure to present the 1989 Egyptian film, Dreams of Hind and Camilia, directed by Mohammed Khan. This is a film that tells the story of two countrywomen who come to Cairo to work as servants. They work in what we might call the marginal sectors of the economy, and as a consequence, their point of view gives us a unique vision of the modern city of Cairo. We'll be talking about that and a set of other issues after today's film. It's a pleasure to welcome to City University Television Professor Hind Culhane, an expert on Egyptian cinema. Now, take this rare opportunity to have a servant's eye view of the metropolis of Cairo. Welcome back to City Cinematheque. I hope you've enjoyed this opportunity to see what I think is quite a remarkable Egyptian film, and one that differs from the commercial Egyptian cinema in a number of ways, but also is an indicator of some of the new directions and important directions of Egyptian cinema and of cinema from the Arab-speaking world. It's a pleasure today to have with us to discuss those issues and some others, a noted expert on the Egyptian cinema, Professor Hind Culhane of Mercy College here in Dobbs Ferry, New York. Hind is a professor who has worked in the social sciences, but is also written an important recent book on Egyptian cinema, East-West, An Ambiguous State of Being, the Construction and Representation of Egyptian Cultural Identity in Egyptian Film. So I think it's pretty obvious why we're having you here today as a guest.
Thank you.
Hind, a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Let's start just with this notion. This film is from 1989, late 80s, early 90s. Egypt is a country with a very significant filmmaking industry and a very significant volume of films. This film differs from what we might call the average commercial Egyptian cinema. We even see parts of that commercial cinema in this film when they go to it. How is this film different from the commercial Egyptian cinema, or give us a little bit of a portrait of the commercial Egyptian cinema of the 80s and 90s?
Well, I think there was a shift that came with Mubarak's regime. With Sadat, there was the opening of Egypt to the West.
Okay.
And then Mubarak, although continued that, he straddles both. He's trying to keep Egypt as Egyptian and also keep the Western influence in balance. So what we have in the 80s are films that are, again, reminiscent of the Italian neo-realism. And the realism, again, taking not a harsh look, but a realistic look of Cairo today and Egypt today and the problems, social problems, political, economic, all of these issues. But this film it created a little bit of a stir. I don't know how successful commercially this film was. I can't get any research on that. But it was a breakthrough because this is Mohammed Khan who wrote it and directed it.
Tell us a little bit about him.
I met him actually last year at Philadelphia Arab Cinema Festival. He's a very nice man, quiet, very concerned with the modern issues of Egypt, obviously, as others, but more than other directors. He has a sense of humor. He's optimistic. He, as you see in this film, really with all the problems these women go through, at the end they celebrate life. So I think Mohammed Khan does not see Egypt as in a desperate state as much as there is still hope that things might change and evolve. And the basic theme of the film is life is wonderful no matter what.
Right.
Survival is most important.
Well, I think you brought up a very interesting point about the relationship between a film like this and the model of Italian neorealism. Now, I know that he, for example, the director of this film, did study film in London.
That's right.
And has a sort of wide knowledge, like many younger filmmakers, has a wide knowledge of international cinema. Yes. So there's a way in which this gives people a kind of set of different models they can choose from of the different narrative modes, the different ways of telling stories that really might be appropriate appropriate to their culture. And I think your comment that this is most closely related to those kinds of films that we associate with Roberto Rossellini, with Paisan,
right.
or with Umberto D by Vittorio De Sica.
Right.
These looks at what the social conditions are at a particular moment in the society. I'd also like to add, because it's a bit of a recurrent theme as we've been talking on this show about Mideastern cinema, about distances. And the fact is that Egypt and Italy are just on other sides of the same pond. So it's not as if it's not as if there are, of course, distinct cultural differences that we'll talk about. Yet on the other hand, they are also neighbors that have shared any number of aspects of
Mediterranean societies.
Absolutely,
yeah,
they're both
a lot of cultural similarities.
Absolutely. Now, but what about if we can talk about neorealism in this film? What is the commercial Egyptian cinema like that Hind and Camilia go to see? You know, when they, what is that cinema like, and how does it contrast with what we're?
Well, if you noticed in the film, they see an Indian film,
Right.
which is also Indian film floods the market all over the Middle East and the Third World, and it's one of the most successful commercial films. But the films they would see would be more romantic melodramas, I would think. Mostly they would go to films where the poor boy falls in love with the rich girl. She's inaccessible to him. At the end, he may not win her in some points, but those are the romantic films that are more reminiscent of Hollywood.
Okay.
Those are the most successful. Now, if you notice on the school bus,
Right.
that Eid takes the children to school, Dallas Language School, boldly written in English. Dallas was one of the most successful American TV series in Egypt, and people sat every afternoon and watched it or taped it.
Right.
So Dallas and Falcon Crest and others of that genre were the most commercially successful in Egypt, which what I'm trying really to say, these are the, if anything in Egypt that is made similar to these, in any fashion, similar to these American popular genre, I think Egyptians would flock to see them.
Okay.
So there is that element. If Egyptian films tend to do too much of hard-hitting realism on the social issues, I think they lose their audience. So there has to be a comedic melodrama, you know, where boy gets girl or boy loses girl, but at least he survives or the girl survives. That's why it's so interesting in this film. It's the first time really he focuses on two, as you said, women who live on the marginal economic life of Cairo, and yet he celebrates them as strong women, particularly Camilia. Hind is a strong woman too, but Camilia really is longing for a room of her own. I thought that was, to speak of Virginia Woolf's, a room of my own. These are the things that they are longing for, a room of my own.
Well, when that particular line came up in the film, of course, I was thinking of Virginia Woolf as well, and thinking of the fact that this is a director who studied in Great Britain.
Yes.
So there is, I think, in that line a kind of strategy in which she doesn't even know that which she is speaking.
That's right.
That is, she doesn't know that she's actually quoting a very famous line about the place of women in the 20th century. She's just making an assertion about what would be desirable and not bringing all the symbolic baggage with it.
I thought he succeeds in getting that across. It's subtle, all these messages he's giving, but also very natural, that this is a normal everyday talk between two women who bond. This is about friendship, about female friendship, sisterhood.
Right.
Which is an issue that is, again, for the first time illustrated to such an extent.
Right.
Usually you have obvious class differences between the mistress of the house and the servant, or the servant is just hello, thank you. This is really exploring the inner life of these two women. That's why it makes it a very unusual film.
Oh, okay. Before we talk more about them, because I think there's a lot more to be said about both of these characters. Let's talk about their overall, place, their overall milieu itself, is Cairo. First of all, who are these women before they come to Cairo? I think to understand the portrait of Cairo, you have to understand who the women are. Where have they come from, and to what degree is this a representative of the society today?
Okay, and in my book I explore this issue, which I think is very fundamental. To understand Cairo, you have to see where these people come from, who are living in Cairo. Because in the last few years, as we all know, Cairo is practically sinking from overpopulation.
Right.
And all this immigration that has taken place from the countryside, which is called Al-Balad, to Cairo, the urban Cairo. And this is very significant because it's a running theme in most of the films, actually from the beginning of Egyptian films, but particularly after the Second World War, celebrating Ibn al-Balad, which means the son of the country, and Bint al-Balad, which is the daughter of the country. And these are issues that again and again brought up and contrasted. The Ibn al-Balad, the son of the country, and the daughter of the country are pure human beings who are tied to the land and to the Nile River and all that it brings with it, the whole cultural route of the Nile. Yes, they may be laboring under difficult conditions, but they are under the sun and the air and the crops and the seasons and the ties to their family and kin.
Right.
With that comes the issues of honor, the issue of the whole thing of gender, which we'll explore later. These are always seen and celebrated as pure forms of humanity. Now they have to come to the city in order to find a living. And when we talk about these two women later, we'll talk about why they came. But this immigration to the city brings on, you have to pay a price.
Right.
And all people who come, and in all the films it shows that either corruption seeps in, the city's overcrowdedness, the lack of employment, the housing shortage, the political and social corruption that takes place forces a lot of these country boys and sons of the country and daughters of the country to do things that they were not accustomed to doing, but they have to in order to survive. But still, every once in a while, the director will say, these are still honorable people.
Right.
While the city is a corrupt hotbed of intrigue and corruption. And as we notice in the film, I thought Muhammad Khan did a wonderful shot and a horrifying shot of the pollution of Cairo.
Yes, indeed.
And he was really trying to tell us, this is our Cairo. This is not the Sheraton. This is not the pyramids. Notice this is one of the few films, no shots of
Absolutely.
the pyramids.
No, it's a very, I think it's a key, it's a key fact that this is a film in which that is devoid of the tourist shots of, if you go on the internet or you get one of the brochures or you go to your bookstore and get one of these, you will see perhaps 25 to 50 different sites in Egypt that are constantly photographed and rephotographed, done to tinted, they're done this or that. And what's quite remarkable is that virtually none of those appear in this in this film. And in fact, what we are is in a city that is, in its own strange way, characterless as a third world megapolis. Now, obviously they're speaking, Arabic that is indigenous to Cairo and all of that, but there's a way in which you can say, gee, could this be Caracas as well? Could this be a newer Asian city as well? Because what we're seeing in this version is we're seeing the pollution, we're seeing the overcrowding, we're seeing the massive differences in social class. Right. We're seeing neighborhoods that look very nice and quite modern, but not marked by particular culture. It's a universal modernity that is not, Egyptian, distinctively Egyptian.
If you turn off the sound, really, you could place any modern, overcrowded, dirty city. It's the back alleys, the back stairs. I think also what I like about the film, Muhammad Khan gives us a glimpse of the upstairs, if you want to make that the kind of thing. But he focuses more on the downstairs. Actually, there's no downstairs, the back stairs.
That's no.
In Egypt, there is no downstairs because people who can afford to live downstairs are pretty well off.
Right.
So this is the back stairs. And always, constantly, those maids and the doorkeepers are sitting on the floor, as you notice.
Right, yes.
And they're eating off the floor. That's why that shot where the women are finally liberated with their savings, they sit at a table and eat with a spoon.
No, that's an excellent point about the way in which he structures the space and the way in which the space is used by people of different classes and what sense of access they have to certain spaces or not. All space is not free, and all space is not accessible by any means here. This, I think, is a very, very interesting aspect of the Cairo that we actually see here. Now, let's go back, and who are these women in the film?
What's interesting that one of the maids' names is Hind, which is my name,
right.
so I like that. Here we have two women. They came to Cairo, the script tells us. Camilia, who is the more savvy, the more hard-bitten, more cynical, yet actually has a heart of gold. She has been divorced by her husband in the countryside, in the village. Why? Because she's barren. So the issue of childlessness comes here, which is a very big issue with women in the Middle East and has been. She's divorced by her husband, obviously with no explanation, because she can't bear any children. And she says, the mattress that we slept on, he gave it to the new wife. Right. Now that's why we see the scene later when she marries Abbas. Her revenge on him, when she takes her money and runs, is to take a knife and tears the mattress to shred. And you have to see the film more than once to get what this woman is doing. I'm not going to give this mattress to another wife, and I'm going to revenge myself. So that's Camilia. Hind, who is a more softer, romantic woman who still believes in marriage and love and has been widowed. So those are two, widowhood and childlessness are two stigmas on women. And yes, widows do get remarried, but that's sort of after the man can't find another kind of woman.
They're leftovers.
That's right. And being barren is worse. Being widowed, after all, it's God's work, and you can't help it. But they're both outcasts in a sense. So they're coming here to find work. And notice Hind says her father comes to collect the wages every month, because when the doorman says to her, who is from her own village, every time I go home, they send greetings to you, and they tell me to look after you, save some money, and come back and buy land. That's interesting, too, because that's not often that women buy the land.
Yes.
So I thought that was an interesting, you can, obviously, if you have money. So that's, again, celebrating land, ownership of land by the Nile, or a place that you farm yourself. He's giving her those hopes, and she's being skeptical. This man, what's he talking about? My father collects my wages. I hardly can save anything. The whole overall issue of the film, too, is not really anti-male as much as saying these two women, as many women in Egypt and the Middle East, men still dominate their lives. That the men are really, in a sense, in this film, most of them are worthless. They are thieves, they're petty thieves, they're hustlers, they are, doormen. But even the doorman has more status than the maid. That these women, every time they want to get away a little bit, something the male in their life does pulls them back.
Absolutely, absolutely the case. Now, one of the things that's interesting about what you've said to me is the sort of contrast between this very nuanced portrait that we actually get in this particular film and what the traditions are of some of the binary oppositions that we get. Because while we come to admire Hind and Camilia both and get to know them very well over the course of the 2 hours of this film, but also over the course of several years that we're tracking them in the film, we view them kindly, we view them sympathetically, but we do not view them as an embodiment of any form of purity.
No.
Because that simply is an impossibility to sustain or maintain that in what the true social conditions of Cairo and Egyptian society are. And I think one of the ways that this film is very interesting is in one of the aspects that's interesting is in its treatment of their sexuality and their life in the city. What do you? How does that differ from some of these romantic kinds of films we were talking about, or what makes this film distinguished in that way?
Okay, well, first of all, most of the so-called romantic melodramas in Egypt always are accompanied by a singer or a song. Now, what is interesting about this film that it starts with, with the titles. There is a song, okay, and one has to pay attention. Some of the translation is not so accurate, but it's about dreams and how the dreams of women, these women, or women and men, are okay, but in the long run, they hurt us. In other words, dreams are wonderful, and everybody should have a dream, but they hurt society. They hurt us if those dreams are unfulfilled, in a sense. That's what's saying. But what I liked about it, there isn't a single belly dance in the film. There isn't a single song. And the wedding was, of course, they couldn't afford a big wedding, and it was just going to the qadi, and which is the religious man who performs the wedding. The whole thing had to do with that women can earn their living, and they are earning their living, and that's freedom. Because Camilia keeps reminding her, what is wrong in being a servant? Hind says, I want to get married one day and have a home. And she says, you're a fool in a sense, because being a servant, having our wages is our freedom. So wage is a salary of some kind, is our freedom. And now I digress from the point.
No, but we're getting back now. We can get back to the point of the sexuality, because there's a way in which, on the one hand, by being marginalized, one being a widow, the other being barren, that's also a kind of way in which they're enfranchised to explore things, and the city is not bound by the same rules as the village is, where they came from.
Because when you see this whole romance between her and Eid, it would not happen in the village because there'll be so many eyes on her. As a matter of fact, Hind says, when they go to shop at the beginning of the film together, Hind says, well, how can we get away from everything? People are always following, watching us, saying something about it. She said, why not? That's when they run into the woman who furnishes apartments, and Camilia is saying, this is what I want one day for both of us to have a furnished apartment. She says, how can we do that? People talk, people are always telling us what to do. She said, no, don't we have our own money? We can sort of call the shots. But yes, that she can even, the film suggests that their lovemaking took place in the alley, in a sense. We don't know exactly, in the alley or on a rooftop, but it did occur.
But it has taken place.
It would not happen in the village because there will be such constraints and such watchful eyes. And maybe it will happen in the field, I suppose, but it's a little rare. This is exactly saying, in the city, you can escape some of the constraints. You could break through some of them.
Well, the city, this portrait of Cairo, which again I think it can be applicable to other places like a Mexico City or whatever, because the city is this place for better and for worse, and both of them very strongly, better and worse. You can be lost and found. That is, there's the way in which the film suggests through certain of the ellipses in the plot that they actually lose contact with one another, but then there is the coincidence of finding once again. But none of that is possible in the society they've come from, because everything is constant there. You're in constant contact with the same people and with the same set of social relations, whereas here you can get completely lost, you can lose all your status, or you can gain great status, but also if you want to hide in that anonymous features, that's also available. And they get, we have this sense of in the film of them both potentially overwhelmed by the city, put at its margins, but strangely enfranchised and given a place to explore themselves that they've never had before as well.
Yes, the fluidity of the city, and the idea that there are many ways women could find jobs. At one point she sells vegetables, and they're saying this is hard work, this is man's work, oh, that's okay. They sell tea at the bus stop. They're very creative, particularly Camilia, who's really the leader of the two. a highly creative woman who will do anything to gain her freedom. To talk about sexuality too, which is interesting, when Eid takes them to the movie,
Yes.
he is at liberty. Not only he's courting Hind and his arms are around her, but he's also probing and really molesting and touching
Right.
Camilia. And Camilia walks out, of course. And at many points throughout, even when he's married, he has this longing that maybe he will make love to Camilia, and she, of course, rebuffs him and reminds him that he's a married man and a father. At one point, which is interesting, comes again the woman and her part in society in the Middle East. When Camilia comes and pursues Eid, that he must do the honorable thing because he has ruined her reputation.
Right.
And that is another, of course, Mediterranean theme, honor and women's reputation, because he got her pregnant. She says to him, "You're a spoiled kid. You are nothing but a petty thief, and I could report you to the authorities, or I could cover up for you if you do the right thing and marry her." And then she tells him, "What you need is your mother here, or a mother, to put you in your place and educate you or make you behave."
Right.
So what constantly being invoked here again, the hierarchical family roles, the position of the mother as the guiding educator, person who brings you up to behave well. Now, I don't know if the audience, by seeing it once, will catch that Eid says, "I want to get married and have this child," and his friend says, "Why? Oh, it's constraining,
Right.
Your freedom. We should get on a boat and leave this country in the first boat that comes." And Eid says, "But I never use the word dad." So that tells us that he is familyless.
Okay.
And he even tells his friend, when he comes, says, "Get out of here. I hope the apartment is clean. I'm getting married and I'm going to live here." And his friend says, "Where am I going to go?" And Eid says, "You have a sister. I don't." So it's suggesting that Eid is a familyless drifter. We don't know anything about his origins.
Right.
And I thought that was very interesting. And Muhammad Khan is telling us that this man has no grounding in society.
Right.
And he's a kind-hearted man, finally.
Which is a very interesting aspect of the film, yes.
He wants to reform.
Yes.
He even sort of pleads to Camilia, he keeps explaining himself, "If I only go straight, and one day I'll have everything." He is trying to go straight, which is again reminiscent of a lot of the Italian films where the man wants to redeem himself and go straight.
I hope we've redeemed ourselves in these 30 minutes because we've just run out of
Really?
time. Absolutely. If you'd like more information about City Cinematheque, please drop us a line. Drop it to City Cinematheque, City University Television, 25 West 43rd Street, Suite 1220, New York, New York, 10036. Let me give you that information again. City Cinematheque, City University Television, 25 West 43rd Street, Suite 1220, New York, New York, 10036. Hind, it's been a great pleasure having you here as an Arab-American woman who straddles both cultures. It's a privilege to have you here as an interpreter of these things for us. Look forward to having you again on City University Television.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure for me.
Great. And I hope that you join us again as we look back into the archives of international cinema for the many riches they hold. Thanks for joining us today.